folks, and welcome to the Sunday Morning Samoflange. I'm Matt.
I'm Benjamin.
And I'm Mikey.
Go ahead and milk it. Milk it, just like we were talking about off the air, how you have those background actors who don't really mean anything and they aren't that important, but they always try to upstage the professionals in the front.
Well, I grew up in Bastrop, and on Saturday mornings, we milked cows. So I'm here to milk it, baby.
Well, let's grab this podcast by the udders and milk it.
No, stop it. Stop it.
All right, so you were saying that you think there's going to be crossover. And here I was saying there's going to be no crossover.
And we had to say, stop. We got to save this for the podcast. What were you saying? Finish the thought.
Give me it.
Mr. Milker.
Well, it could be nil. It could be null and void, but I'm looking at my list and I'm like, you know what? I feel like there's going to be crossovers, but now that I'm actually processing it, I don't know what y'all did and did not have. So some of these things that I did not have, maybe y'all did.
And as with every list we have, I'm always shocked when there is crossover, when we have literally everything in the world to pull from, because there was no other direction for this list aside from things we wanted.
Yeah, and
but so, didn't have.
But didn't have.
Kids.
As kids.
Correct.
As kids.
So
I'm saying there's none. I mean, we should
think
all,
none?
I think we should all say none, because this is so. Unless someone wants to be bold and say one,
I'll give it one.
All right.
Absolutely, give it one
right.
between the three of us.
I'll take two, Alex.
Well, no,
I will take two.
Look,
okay, I'll go
take
first.
I could see it. I could see two.
Can we go ahead and do honorable mentions?
Yeah.
I have one.
I have one.
Okay, my Jinko jeans.
Jinko.
Do you remember Jinko jeans?
I do remember them, but that was like 1998.
Was it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought that was
like Limp Bizkit days.
So,
Okay.
Well, I mean, it could have started in the mid-90s. Maybe.
Yeah, because I remember in high
Okay.
school people getting those, and I
Okay.
still equivalent myself as a kid.
Jinko. I don't remember any.
Okay, well, there you go. There was a throwaway one. It didn't make my top 5. Honorable mention.
Truthfully, mine was the AT-AT from Star Wars. Like, it was the gigantic AT-AT
would've loved that, yeah.
that was like $4 million in kid dollars.
It
And
still is
Right,
like
still
$4
is
million
$4
now in
million.
adult
dollars, right? And I just knew it was so expensive and so big, and like my parents' face whenever I turned around, I was watching the commercial, and they got the AT-AT walking. I'm like, oh my god, Mom! I turned around, and you could just tell by the look on their face it was going to be an automatic hard no. And so I just didn't even ask after that. And so to me, as a kid and an adult, that cost $4 billion. I can't ask for that. And I don't want it, but I did want it at the same time. Like, I didn't want it, but I did.
Because it was an incredible incredible toy.
That was the honorable mention for me. Did you have the AT-AT?
No.
Did you know anybody who had the AT-AT?
I was not friends with Scrooge McDuck.
Okay.
Wow.
And even if you did, like, you're like, hey, he's got a money pit. Let's go swim in that instead. That's fine.
Well, you know, like, in all honesty, like, those toys, even though they're expensive now, you know, they were expensive because we were kids, but really, you know, they were like $49.99, $59.99, things like that.
It was like $58 more than I had.
Right. But, you know, looking back on it, it's like, man, like, they were out there more than, you know, I thought that they were.
Oh, I agree.
But me personally, to answer your question, I didn't know anyone that had one.
Did you have all of the Star Wars?
No, I didn't have it, but there was someone in my neighborhood who did.
So you had a neighborhood kid.
We had the neighborhood kid whose mom was never there for him, so she bought him stuff to make it feel like she was there.
Wow, what a classic 80s
And
trope.
yeah, so but that's he had it and I was jelly.
Was his last name Veers?
No.
General Veers.
All right. Honorable mention, do you have one?
I don't.
Okay,
I
that's
don't.
fine.
I probably could think of some, but nah.
It was an afterthought was Jinko jeans for me.
Admiral Piet.
All right, so I'm happy to go first here.
I want you to go first.
Something that I always circled in the Sears catalog every year.
The Sears catalog.
And-
that brought to mind at the Sears catalog when I was little. Yeah.
Yeah, and my mom and dad just ignored it, and I'm shocked because it was PJs. I wanted Batman PJs with the Velcro cape so bad because it was basically it wasn't just PJs. You were Batman.
Yeah.
And I had a Halloween, one of those cheap plastic Halloween rubber band mask that got too hot.
The best.
If you breathed in it for more than 5 seconds, you're suffocating.
Do you remember how those looked in the store? How they were all just hung up in a row and just depending on like the superhero or the cartoon figure, and it was just the same looking suit, just a different color, but then the mask hung on it, and the mask was very cool.
Changed it all. Right?
That was the part you wanted, was the mask. It was either Snoopy or He-Man or whatever.
So I had that mask. I went with this PJ set. My life could be complete.
Yeah, man.
But for some reason, what parent didn't give their kids PJs? We got PJs all the time, glow in the dark PJs and stuff like that.
Glow in the dark.
Oh yeah, Transformers. You know, when you turn off the lights, that shows the outline of their car or truck or whatever.
So why couldn't you get the Velcro cape?
I don't know. I wanted it so bad.
Have you ever
My mom
asked
did
your
not want me
mom?
fighting crime, obviously.
Maybe that's what she knew that you didn't at the time. She's like, he's going to go out.
What does it take? Do we need to take a walk down crime alley? I'm kidding.
Do not take your mom and dad down a dark alley, Batman.
There you go. All right, so
I don't want to dance with the devil, Mom.
Yeah. All right, that was number 5 for me. So go ahead.
That's a good one. I think I had the Superman PJs with the red cape. I'm pretty sure I did have the Superman. We could have fought as children in PJs.
We could have been the world's finest.
It's a missed opportunity we had. But I do, like you said, the Velcro cape. I remember having that Velcro cape, and they were super comfortable PJs, by the way.
Well, rub it in, why don't you?
Yeah, I will.
He is.
Because, Superman versus Batman, I got to put it on somehow.
I'll tell you what.
My number 5, because it wasn't all of that importance, but also it was easy to come to mind because it is in your downstairs playroom for your children. It's the Power Wheels Jeeps and things that they had. What's the song?
That's
like
a good one.
Power Wheels or whatever.
Yeah.
And I don't even know why I wanted one. It's because the commercials were so good. I didn't know anyone with one. I didn't even know what I would do with it. But the commercials just really, really made me want one. And that was another one I think I asked for it once, and they were like, "Oh no, we're not. No, that's way too pricey." And da da da.
And the only reason we didn't want one, my brother my brother had a motorcycle one that went, -1 mile per hour. And I was like, oh, those things go really slow. But someone in our neighborhood, a kid had a go-kart. And so he'd zim around that go-kart.
That thing zips around 20 miles an hour.
Wanted a go-kart.
Yeah, you could
That's
die.
the only reason we didn't want one of those.
Sense.
But I agree with you.
That makes sense. But I mean, that's what I've heard from everyone I know is that they go like -1 mile an hour, like you said. And they're so slow. But on the commercial, you don't know that.
No.
Like it makes it look
think
like
you're
you
driving
can
a mini
fly
car.
Like real. Yeah, it's great.
I don't have to ask my mom to go to McDonald's. I can drive there. It may take half a day.
I'll be back with a cheeseburger, by about 4 o'clock.
Happy Meal.
I'll be back in time for DuckTales at 3:30.
I'll be back with whatever someone threw in the trash. I ain't got money for no cheeseburger. What are you talking about? I'm 6.
I'll be back with some Batman PJs, Mom.
Yeah.
All right, what is your number 5?
So my number 5 is a Pogo Stick.
A Pogo Stick?
What? Wait, what?
You remember
You
Pogo
wanted
Sticks?
one?
Yeah, okay, so here's the deal.
I never wanted one.
Number 1, yes, I did want a Pogo Stick. Never got a Pogo Stick. I did, however, get a Pogo Ball. Do y'all remember Pogo Balls?
Oh, yes. Yes, I do.
So-
They had the handle on the ball that you could hold on to?
No. Well, that's a little different. Like, that's kind of like that thing that you bounce on and you straddle and bounce on.
Is that not what a Pogo Ball is?
It is not. So we all know a Pogo Stick, right? It's a stick.
Poke one, get one. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Ew.
My word.
Pogo Stick, right? You have the handles. You put your feet on it. You bounce.
So you bounce twice and fall off.
Twice and fall over, right?
Yeah. Which is I did that on what was that? Were you there? There's that famous picture of your sister and me in Emory where I've got the Band-Aid over my eye.
I don't know.
It's because me and Emory had a Pogo Stick like bounce off on Mardi Gras night in front of Dave Horn's old house. I'm just name dropping all over the place. I was inebriated. I got about like 6 bounces in, and I went bam right on the concrete.
Well, you got 6 in.
He broke a record, world record.
4 more than me.
Bounces.
Yeah. So the Pogo Ball. Okay, so the Pogo Ball looks a lot like that sit and spin right there.
Yeah.
But it has the same kind of like circular plastic rotation, but there's a ball, half of a ball on top.
Yeah.
Half of a ball on top and half of a ball on the bottom.
Yeah.
And you put your feet around the top ball and balance and bounce.
Those were called something else. Was it the Pogo Ball?
Yeah, Pogo Ball.
We had those.
Yeah, we had one
You
too.
had it?
Yeah, my limit was 0.
Well, wait a minute. You said you didn't have
No, I didn't have the Pogo Stick.
He wanted the Pogo Stick.
you had the
Pogo
Pogo
ball
ball?
sucked.
Yeah,
you had
they
the
were
Pogo
kind of
ball?
sucky.
Yeah, they were awful. I had the Pogo ball.
Yeah.
They must have been cheap.
Yeah. I had one too.
I
so
might have seen the word pogo and just said, no, I'm not doing that. Because I knew about the pogo stick.
It looks like Saturn.
yes,
I remember
exactly.
that now. Right.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think it's really funny that we said with no context whatsoever that the sit and spin is right over there. And it's like where we record this. And so people who can't visualize.
yeah, we have a sit and spin in the studio. This is what we do when we're on
Yeah.
podcast. We're coming up with our new ideas, taking turns. Let's
Why
sit and
wouldn't
spin.
we? I mean, we're sitting here talking about the 80s and the 90s.
That's
Like,
right. We're getting inspiration
every
from
chance
the
we
sit and
get.
spin.
So
Dude,
if they only knew what was in this room.
so Pogo Stick.
Absolutely.
Well, and you think we're going to have 2 crossover. All right, so number 4.
You're starting with the pogo ball.
Number
and you think
4.
we're going to have 2 crossovers.
I should have grabbed one.
All right.
There it is. He's showing you right now.
What am I?
That's what it was.
Yeah, now I can see it. Yeah, perfect.
Now I get it.
Now
French
I
class.
get it.
All
French
right.
class. Yeah.
Saturn right there.
Saturn.
Yeah.
I wasn't going anywhere near
Sad
that.
Saturn because you didn't have fun with it.
Well, sad Saturn will make you bust Uranus.
Oh, yes. All right.
Yes, sir.
Where's the slow clap
Okay.
emoji?
Mine is, and there's one right over there. I don't know where the other one is. My girls wear them all the time. The plastic baseball helmets. Do you remember this with the Major
Yes.
League teams on it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You never had one?
We bought a few as a kid. Here's the thing. I wanted an entire set
Yes.
of every Major League Baseball team because we would go out. Here's what we did: we would wear whatever. Every time my dad took us to the Jackson Mets game, they were the AA team for the Mets.
Yes.
Way back in the day in Mississippi, and we go all the time. Dad could get free tickets anywhere, and so he thought, I'll buy my kids a $2.50 helmet when they go because that's all. Well, after about three or 4 tries, we had 12 of them. We were marking them off because we were trying to get the whole set. My mom forbade us to get any more helmets. She did not want those helmets littered in the house. But we would play with them. We'd put them on and pretend to be our favorite batter from that team.
Sure.
Play out in the backyard.
So you began the set, but you weren't. You were.
We never
forbidden to
completed
finish
it,
the set,
and we wanted it so bad. I had like 30 of them. And oddly enough, up until just 4 years ago, I still had my very first helmet.
No
It was a
kidding.
Mets one, of course.
Of course it was.
And me and Megan were playing around. We used to play pitch and catch, and I was the catcher. I had my little plastic helmet on, and then I gave her the helmet. I said, "Here, give it to me." So she decided to throw it, and she threw it right over the concrete, and it smashed into a billion pieces because it's old.
What?
And she went, "We can get glue and glue it together." I said, "No, we can't. This thing is ancient." She's like, "I'm so sorry." I say, "It's fine," but it finally.
Now,
The last surviving helmet.
if you were getting these things from a farm team in Mississippi, then that's probably not something you could go and replace.
No.
Like, they're not on eBay. You probably will
No.
never be able to complete this set or anything.
No, I mean, they still sell them at parks. Not that
But-
original
yeah, but
cheap
not that.
plastics.
Right.
I'm
Right.
kidding. But the thing is, though, as a kid, we wanted them all.
Right.
We wanted a set. And we only had like 9 or 12. I can't remember. I say that because every time me, Jimmy, and Bray would go, and we'd each get a helmet.
Wow.
But Mom put a kibosh on that very quickly, and we wanted. I mean, I was like thinking, how can we get away with this? Because every time we tried to fool Dad again, Dad, can we get? No, your mother said no more helmets.
We got so close.
We got a few batting
And then he
gloves, but it
remembered.
wasn't the same. It wasn't the same.
man.
Plus, I grew out of my
had
batting
a-
glove the next year. I was like, oh man.
I had a set of all 32 unsharpened NFL pencils.
Ooh,
with
I have those.
Each team, yes.
Yes. Okay, those were a big deal.
Yes, they were. I had the whole set of those. Never sharpened them.
Yep.
And I played with them constantly. Like I would rank them according to order and how good each team was. Of course,
The old Saints
one.
one, yeah, they're the best. The old Saints logo,
bottom, depending
yeah.
on how crappy
The
they
Houston
were.
Oilers one, because that's
Oh,
just not even a
yes,
team
yes,
anymore.
yes.
So it's funny that you bring that up because you're the only other person besides the couple of kids that I grew up with that remember
Kim and I
those.
were talking about this just a month ago or so.
So
Wow.
I have those at my house.
No, you still have them.
in my safe.
Shut up.
Yeah,
That's fantastic.
they're not even like in the attic. They're like one of the few
Right.
things that went in my safe.
I bet they're in like my mom's attic somewhere. Still.
Yeah,
I
no,
have
they're
doubt.
unsharpened and they
That's
mean so
hilarious.
much to me. Yeah,
That's
Crazy.
hilarious. That is hilarious.
I've
Y'all have
never
the same
met
thing.
anybody else who has those.
It's too bad Joe didn't put that down your list because there's been one crossover. Okay.
well,
so
we
honorable
had
mention.
them.
We
had them, right?
That's true. All right. So number.
We got to have that satisfaction and joy in our lives, unlike you.
That's true. That's true. Number 4.
Number 4 for me, and this is number 4 because I had the first one, but then I wanted every other thing that came after it, which was the Super Soakers. So I had the first Super Soaker, but then it seemed that every 6 months there was a new, more powerful, more ultimate version of the Super Soaker.
Do you remember when there were only 3? Small, medium, and large. There were only 3 sizes.
Yes.
And
I got the medium one.
If you got the Super Soaker,
and I never got the Super Duper Soaker.
Well, I mean, no. If you had a Super Soaker though, before then we'd run around. We do water wars in our neighborhood.
Yeah.
But everyone had squirt guns.
Yeah.
But if someone had a Super
Soaker,
it revolutionized
you
the
ran
water
from
war.
that person. You ran from them.
Yeah.
Like they were, oh my God, Super Soaker! And you screamed at the top of your lungs. And you ran as fast
Unless
as
you
could.
had a water balloon. There's no hiding from the Super Soaker.
And then even the water balloon is a one shot. You better get him.
And I remember when they made the grenade balloons for water
the
balloons.
grenades.
I was like,
the fear of the
That's a great
grenade
idea.
water balloon.
So it just felt like every year, though, every summer, the Super Soaker got bigger and badder, and then it was like a proton pack for water soakers. It was just unbelievable, like a full backpack.
Yep.
And you had to get it all.
And you could
It's like you're a
levitate
Ghostbuster.
if you're firing so much water. People
Don't cross the streams.
It would bring you up off the ground, and you'd just be flying.
Jetpack.
Shooting. Yeah, you jetpack
James
while
Bond.
you're soaking.
Yeah, they had
everything.
Super Soakers that that have a fix to the fire hydrant, start shooting from there.
So I did have the first one. I did play with it a lot. It's hot in Louisiana, so we were outside playing in the sun a lot, and I had a great time with it. But then it just felt like every year there was another one. I was like, man, I always wanted one of those, but I never got another one. So. And it just feels like there was such such an evolution is why it changed, because this original Super Soaker was basically a water gun that you had a pump action shotgun on it, right? But then it just got so incredibly supreme and complex, and then it was all kinds of stuff.
Even though it's not water based, well, I guess some of it probably is now, but same way with Nerf guns. I mean, when Nerf guns came out, they were like just whatever, boo 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 boo, and now there's like freaking like Gatling guns and like
you know the coolest that the first Nerf archery, the arrow ones, those were so cool.
Right, I
we
remember
played with those all the time.
I never had the archery
they had
ones.
good they had good aim, and they could sail really far. You could shoot. I mean, I out of all the Nerf guns I ever held back in the day, the archery one was my favorite by far.
Nice.
It's sort of like the super
bow and arrow, I should say.
The slip and slide things. It's like I had the first one of those too, but then those got more and bigger and powerful, and like you had like castles at the end of the thing.
We had the
Crocodile
one. We had Crocodile.
That's
what I was about to say.
Right. That would have been an honorable mention if I'd remembered.
Which I would have done. I think we did this crocodile with the super slide.
It had the pool at the end.
Into the pool.
Through the crocodile's mouth.
Right.
It was
and
great.
then you did that at the end. But I mean, I have some really fond memories of that, but I probably only did it maybe 2-3 times max.
And when you hit the pool, you could also pee a little too.
And
no one would know.
So you could run back and do it again.
Yeah.
You need all that water in that pool to like wash off the blood from hitting the rocks all the way down.
Yeah. But you don't care. You just throw yourself down that. No, it's great.
I would care now.
Number 4.
Hit it.
Number 4 for me is a trampoline.
A trampoline? Any trampoline?
I mean, I never had a trampoline. Wow. Like, and that's like everybody in the 80s. And
I didn't get one until
I mean, it was
90s.
big. I mean, like whenever you saw trampolines, you kind of really saw them then, maybe in the 90s. I don't see a lot of trampolines now.
I agree. Our neighbor had one, but he controlled when we could play on it, and that's how he got friends.
Yeah.
Because he had the big
trampoline. He was
a
jerk.
I mean, we're just talking about one of those big, normal black trampolines. Like no nets on the side, nothing safe, the big springs that you can snap your finger off with.
You pinch yourself all the time on them.
Yeah, that could have easily been a crossover for us if I had.
I thought it might have been because there were random. It was always like the randomest people that had them. Not necessarily rich people, but just random dudes.
You always dreamed of jumping off your roof onto the trampoline.
I did that.
You lived the dream.
And you survived.
Yeah. Okay, so my next door neighbor, who was ironically not a kid, he was a little bit older than me, probably maybe 10 years. They had a trampoline. I think maybe because they had a kid that was younger than me. I got on the roof because back in the day you just did that. You got off roof, you jumped off roofs. I mean, when you're like 12 years old, you're indestructible.
We all read Calvin and Hobbes.
Yeah. So I got on the roof and I jumped onto. I only did it once, and I jumped because I wanted. This is what I wanted to happen.
Yes.
I wanted
Were
to
you
land
wearing your Batman pajamas.
Ferris Bueller style. Over the fence into the bikini women.
Oh, we need to stop.
That's what I wanted. I wanted to jump off, bounce off of it, and then springboard just way up in the air and just land wherever.
Just tuck and roll and land.
Well, what happened was I didn't know anything about what I should do with my body. So I jumped off and I landed on my feet, but I did not bounce. It's like I buckled and my chin went right into my knees. It's like my legs just went goosh. And I was in a little ball and it boom.
Teeth rattler.
Yeah. And it hurt. But there was no blood. There was no broken bones. I just didn't do it again. I was like, once is enough.
Oh, I did it though. I survived.
I did.
But you said fudge this.
Yeah.
The cartoons didn't really tell us, prepare us for what that would really be like.
There was no hitting your knees into your chin. In the
None
cartoon.
of our superheroes on Saturday morning did that. They never broke their teeth on their chins.
Ferris Bueller didn't.
No, they did the Ferris Bueller.
Number 3 for me is the action figure Luke Skywalker from A New Hope.
Oh, goodness.
I never had this part of my collection. Well, I remember one day we went shopping there was a little TGNY, little nickel and dime store. Mom said we could get one, action figure. So we did. And then we went over to the drugstore. The drugstore has old figures because no one goes to them for toys. Mm-hmm. They had The New Hope Luke Skywalker. I begged my mom. My mom, she already had one. I said, Mom, I never would have gotten this one if I'd have known this one existed. Mom, please, next time you get us action figures, I will not get one because I need this. I wanted it so bad. She would not give it. Oh, and then the next time we went to TGNY, she said, okay, you can get one. I said, Mom, I want to go to the drugstore and get it. And we went to the drugstore. Didn't have it. Because there was some other kid going, oh my gosh, a Luke Skywalker. So
who was that? Was that Kenner? Did Kenner make those original ones?
Kenner, yeah. And I wanted that New Hope one so bad.
Which one did you get, by the way?
I had the Return of the Jedi one, obviously. And I found an Empire Strikes Back one at a beach house. And my mom goes, you can't keep it. It's not ours. I went, okay. And then I snuck it. I snuck it home because I was like,
was it Hoth gear or was it Dagobah?
No, we had Hoth gear too, but it was Dagobah, Luke, and he was super hard. We couldn't find him, so I was like, I hit him with the rest of my things, buried him under. Like my mom was going to search through all my action figures to see if I found that. She never knew, but I always, if she'd come in, I'd hide it. Like she would still remember that was the action figure from the beach house.
Right.
But I treasured that one.
Yeah.
But I could not find a New Hope Luke, and I really wanted that one because I thought he would look the coolest.
Did you ever get one later in life?
Well, yeah, the new Hasbro one.
No, I'm talking about the original.
Oh,
one.
No. Yeah.
They've kind of gone up a little bit.
They have, but it's not as important.
Right, I got you.
Not as important now. Number 3.
You're not making up random lies and excuses to get it at this point, so it doesn't mean it's.
I could get it if I wanted it, but I don't want it.
Right.
Yeah. Number 3.
Number 3. My number 3 is the Game Boy. Never actually had a Game Boy, which was very popular and felt like everybody had one, and they pretty much did. And then it was all about Tetris at the time.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even that cool. I think it was really just that everybody had one, and I was always pretty good at the video games as a child, and I think everyone expected me to have one. And I didn't, and they were always surprised.
Hurt your image.
And so
I think I'll challenge you on one point here.
Image here.
I had one. It was called Tiger Toys.
Are you going to challenge me
digital?
On my gaming?
No. I'm just going to challenge you on one point that you made.
Do it.
That they weren't that cool. Because in 1989, they were very cool.
Did I say not that cool? I meant not that. I mean, I didn't. They were popular. They were prolific as a thing. And but what I meant when I said that is the technology wasn't that cool. It felt like.
But I think it was. That's the challenge.
It felt like. Even playing it, like you could barely see the screen.
Well, there's that. Yes,
I mean, Tetris gets old.
It was a step down from the NES, and you knew it. But to be able to take that around with you,
and I knew that it would be confiscated and/or taken away from me at school at any given point, and that's why I was like, no, not doing it because I'd seen too many taken
I feel you on
and
that
or
one.
Broken. I saw them get broken too, and I'm like, ew.
I had an original one, but I couldn't tell you what happened to it. I have
no idea.
2 now, but that I've just bought afterwards. But
I've never had a Game Boy.
The original one, I don't know what happened to it.
I was surprised not too long ago. I looked it up, like how much would an original Game Boy be worth? And like about $50.
Yeah, they're not.
It's really not. It's about how much
there were so many of them.
Right, because it was so many. Right, but when it first came out, it sold out, and it was a big deal. And then it's like a year and a half later, production caught up with the demand, and then everybody had one. And I don't know why. I never got one.
Well, the Game Boy Color came out shortly after that.
That's true. I never got one of those either.
I never had any other handheld.
No,
until the Switch.
I mean, I had one of the I did have one of the handhelds that like went out of style and was only in production for like 6 months. And it's probably
Which tiger toy did you have?
I think I had the Atari
Baseball
Lynx or something like that.
DuckTales.
Why are you saying that so sheepishly over there?
Playing a tiger toy in the car
And then
on
the
the
Game
way to
Boys that
grandma's.
people had with like
Pretending it was a Game Boy.
Remember when you could see
He's over here complaining about the riches he has.
come on.
And you're Scrooge McDuckin and your
know.
little pixels.
I know, this and the Superman PJs.
Yeah.
Keep throwing it in. Number 3 for you.
the Game Boys you could see through that had the clear and you could see the motherboard in them? Do you
Yeah.
remember
Those are Game Boy colors.
Those were kind of
Yeah.
cool. But,
My number 3 is a Dune Buggy / go-kart.
Dune Buggy.
Because
That was instant death for me if I
Yeah.
got one of those.
So, my dad, and I was really, really close to getting one. As a matter of fact, I think my dad actually bought one time. My dad was a mechanic and a body man, and so he just knew people that had different things like
Yeah.
that in scrap yards or whatever.
Whoa.
And so he actually did buy, now that
Black market Dune Buggies.
No, but I always wanted like a smaller go-kart kind of a thing. But he actually bought this big red Dune Buggy, like one of the ones that you might see like on like a professional course.
Nice.
But it didn't run, and we never got it running. He probably could have, but I look back on it now because knowing how well my dad fixed cars and worked on engines and stuff, and how big that thing was and how little I was at the time, he probably saved me from
It
myself.
wasn't beyond his ability to fix.
No,
but,
yeah. I mean, my dad went to the grave saying two things, or saying one thing, but it was a two-part. It was, I can fix anything but a broken heart. That was always his like line, right? But then my nephew came along, and this is true story, and had a broken Sega Genesis, and my dad couldn't fix it. So for the last 20 years of his life, he amended his own phrase, and it was, rest in peace, Dad. It was, I can fix anything but a broken heart or a Sega.
That is hilarious. That is great. That's
a
great.
great story. That's fantastic.
But yeah, Dune Buggy, you said go-kart earlier,
Yeah,
so you know that the
I
appeal
understand.
of just like, I don't know if it was about...
I hear you.
It's like that kind of coincided with dirt bike, kind of like Dune Buggy, go-kart, dirt bike. They kind of all could have been the same, because in the 80s movies, there was a lot of like kids that rode dirt bikes.
Oh, yeah.
And I always wanted the dirt bike, not just the dirt bike kid, but it seemed like in every movie.
No,
like
you're right. The cool kid.
The cool kid had a dirt
adults had
bike.
motorcycles and the kids had dirt bikes. So you're right. Absolutely.
All
Lots
right.
of Mad Max and everything else running around.
Yeah. No, number 2 for me is back to Star Wars. It's the Ewok Village playset.
That's a magnificent set.
I don't even know about the Ewok Village.
There's
playset.
Ewok Village.
It was a full village.
Yes, it's full village, repainted and repackaged in what toy line? A few years later.
We all just got the Amber Alert, right?
Yes.
Yep. Amber Alert. Good
All
deal.
right.
Glad there's an Amber Alert
Working.
now.
It's working.
All right, so it's working. What toy line repackaged the exact thing back in the early 90s? Kevin Costner's
Oh, was it Robin Hood?
Robin Hood that made it was the same play set. They
in
just
the movie, like when you go back and
Robin
look at their...
Hood, the Prince of Thieves movie?
It was
Yeah, 'cause
it was his hideout.
Yeah.
Was also the
my
Ewok
gosh.
Village.
Yeah, they made Mary and took him to
Yeah,
like this...
I love that
Kenner,
movie.
Yeah.
Kenner. They just
Shut
went ahead and
up.
just had the mold and they used
They
it
just
again.
rebranded it.
They just rebranded it, repainted it too.
That's genius.
Yeah, it was really smart. But anyway, we didn't have one. We begged our mom for one years ago, actually, before we had the kids.
Own Ewok Village.
I made my own
remember
Ewok
talking
Village,
about
and it
this.
was better than anything. And we wouldn't even. I mean, yeah, we would have taken the
Have you
playset.
heard this story? This is great. Go
We
ahead.
made our own because you would not give us it. We decided to make our own in our backyard, and it was immaculate. I mean, we got straw. We got a branch that kind of looked like a tree. Buried it in the center of the thing. Combed out paths and the pine straw and dirt and stuff. And I mean, we had this elaborate village. I mean, we kept adding on to it, and we kept buying Ewoks until she caught on. She's like, "I think y'all already have this one." I said, "No, we don't." Because we were trying to buy as many different Ewoks as we could.
But did you have it already? Like,
Oh yeah, we had the Ewoks already, but we were not telling her that.
But you're
We had like 3 of each different
did you
Ewok.
paint them to make them different?
We couldn't paint them because
Oh.
Mom wouldn't trust us with paint. But we take some of them had their hoods on, some didn't. You know, we
changed
tried
them
to
somehow. Yeah.
Yeah, try to change
Distinguished
them.
Yeah. Named them all.
Someone had a black marker, so one
Yeah, yeah.
got blackface. But
Oh no!
well, it's the 80s.
Well, there was that one
Poor
Ewok. There was the
There was
black
an Ewok with
Ewok.
a black face. That's
But
true.
anyway, the thing was that it was great. But when we were looking at my wife and I used to do antiques and thrift stores all the time, and this guy had an Ewok Village, and he goes, "Hey man, I'm telling you, I'm closing out this month, so I'll give you a deal if you want to get some of this stuff." And I went, "Okay."
Oh, okay.
And so we went to talk about it. It's like, Megan, I don't need a toy anymore, but I'll be honest, I always wanted that Ewok village. I said, I wouldn't do anything with it. It's sitting there, say, well, go ahead, see what deal it'd give you. I was like, all right, someone had bought it by the time I got back. I was like, that's what I get for,
You should have learned your lesson with the drugstore Luke. Like,
I know.
Don't ever try to come back.
But
it'll be
okay,
gone.
because I wouldn't, again, it would just be sitting in the closet.
Right.
So,
right.
Yep. All right, so number 2.
This is 2 stories that you have had where you should have stolen it, and in one story you did steal it. And so
yeah, I know, for real. Should have taken it.
Just taking this stuff when I can.
I'm taking this, man.
Every man for himself. My number 2 is the Transformers Super Packs, like the huge ones. Any of the massive, colossal sized ones. Like,
oh, yeah.
Omega Supreme was the original, like, base, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that where that was the original base where they all hung out. And then when stuff got really real, Omega Supreme transformed into some big super cannon, whatever, and killed... what was the big, the planet, not the planet size, but the big bad guy. Anyway, you know, the super Transformer fights. The season finales of the cartoons.
Yeah.
When things got really real. And then they had the Fortress Maximus one and the Metroplex one that were just like gigantic.
I know what you're talking about.
And there was this, we called it the nursery, but it was basically just a gray building where my sister and I got dropped off after school, and we would just hang out. It's like a daycare kind of thing.
The gray building.
The gray building. It was like just you drive by it now because the building is still there, and we
some
look
white
at it.
van took you there.
Nowadays they call it juvie, but
yeah, but like they had a lot of these Transformers there that I never got to have. Yes, that were just.
Did you pocket and walk?
No, I didn't, because they were communal toys, and they were all kind of broken.
What were they doing with the big toys?
I don't know, but they had
Who would donate the
some
big
of the
toys?
huge ones. They had the what was the Constructobot's bad guy, the green Constructobot.
Devastator?
Devastator. They had
Devastator,
Devastator, and I could put him together with all the different 5, and you could click them together and make Devastator.
No,
Like,
some
I
kids'
like
parents
Devastator.
walked down
Yeah.
Crime Alley, and he had to give
Yeah.
up all his toys and move away.
And as I was looking this
Crime
up,
Alley.
no,
Into an
seriously.
orphanage.
Yeah, the pearls go flying. But this I remember playing with Starscream and what was the other plane?
Doesn't matter. Starscream's
But
awesome.
Starscream is, like, I was looking this up, and he's one of the most expensive ones that you
Yeah.
can get now. If you have the
Yeah,
OG Starscream.
because
Yeah.
he is the
'Cause he's
best
a great
Decepticon
character,
ever.
Right, he's the best Decepticon, and so. But I remember, like, I was scrolling through, and it's like
Not my
most
favorite,
expensive Transformers,
best.
and then Starscream's like number 2 or something like that.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember playing with
Everybody
that.
likes Starscream.
And it was great, but I
Oh,
never had
right.
any of those for myself. I was one of them, but of course that was the toy box that I went for whenever I got out of there, and so. But I did have several of the Dinobots. And I did have Grimlock, and I did have several of the ones that were the big Dino. I had the big Dino, Dino bad guy. I had a lot of the bad guys.
Grimlock would have stolen Devastator.
Grimlock's your
dumb to
favorite.
steal it.
No.
Who?
Is that what you're? Oh, you're
I'm trying to
wondering
figure out
about
who
that?
your favorite is. Jazz?
No, Soundwave.
Oh, Soundwave. Should have known.
Yeah.
Soundwave to me was just the coolest,
Oh,
most
he
badass.
was. And the
Number one, that
Decepticons were the
voice,
coolest.
and then number 2,
Yes,
just the other ones coming out of his chest and flying away.
Exactly.
Like that's
that pterodactyl thing that he had in his
and
chest.
the wolf.
Yeah,
I mean,
for
so
sure.
imaginative.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh.
Okay.
And so
Oh.
both of my number 1 and my number 2 are, I had a lot of the bad guys of this toy line. And so most of my Transformers were the Decepticons. And
Okay.
that may be why I'm a Slytherin today. I don't know. We'll see.
No, those toys were awesome. That's
They were.
the gray building.
yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
call that heaven.
It was great.
All the great toys.
Oh, here, I wrote it down. Starscream.
It's like Lord of the Rings. It's the gray heavens.
Starscream in
Just-
2019, somebody bought Starscream for $6,000. And that was how much it's auctioning for now. Wow.
It's like all the lost toys were in that place. The
Right.
toys were worth more than that building.
Yeah, they are. Like this gray shed.
You break in, you steal the toys, leave the kids. All right, go
They
for
might
it.
still be there for all I know.
So speaking of like toy lines,
Yes.
if when we get to number 1, you'll know why my number 1 is my number 1.
Yes.
But if number 1 wasn't even a thing, then my number 2 would be number 1 because in my opinion, y'all might disagree, but in my opinion, it is the pinnacle of all 80s toys.
Oh my.
Castle Grayskull.
Castle Grayskull.
I never had Castle Grayskull. I've never owned it like in the 80s. I never owned it later on in life. But that son of a gun was the coolest thing.
It was the baddest thing in the world.
Ever.
Yeah, it was.
Ever. Opened it up. All the stuff is in there. The drawbridge. I mean, it's just so
all
iconic.
The different rooms, like the different rooms, and then Skeletor could come in. And it was badass. It was amazing.
Here's the church. Here's the steeple. Open it up, and here's the people.
Because I did have Castle Grayskull.
I had the Justice League playset. I didn't need it.
Yep.
No, but everyone loved Castle Grayskull.
Did you have one?
No. Well, I was not a He-Man. There was another cartoon that played with He-Man at the same time, and we picked that other cartoon. I can't remember what it was. But
so you had to for pick that reason, that time slot.
Well, no, that was back before DVR, VCR, and stuff. So you had to pick one of the other cartoons.
Right. No, I get
and
that.
whatever that other cartoon was that played in our local area, it ran against He-Man, and we went with. I can't remember.
Wow.
I mean, it was Mask. It was G.I. Joe. It was Thundercats. It was something else.
Could have been Smurfs.
That I watched. Could have been Smurfs.
Wuzzles.
I did watch Smurfs. I watched Wuzzles. That was a Saturday morning cartoon.
You're looking at like 83 to 85 here for He-Man, something like that. So it was...
Oh, no. We could narrow it down.
Did you watch the Netflix revival of it?
Yeah, He-Man.
What did you think?
I loved every second of it.
Really?
Yes.
That's awesome.
Okay.
I got through the first or second episode, and I didn't finish it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Number one.
Number one.
For me is something that's number 0 for you guys, because you guys probably had it. We were not allowed to buy Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I wanted the main 4.
I had all 4.
So bad. They are reprinted exactly as is.
Are they?
At Walmart right now.
Really?
For $9 each.
Those were good toys.
The original toys with the the little sprues with all the little things. It's just like the old. What they're doing is they're cashing in on us. Well, I added up. I said,
get some ice cream.
Do I need to spend what
$40, $50,
$40, $40, 40 something bucks to get all 4? I almost did it, but I was like, no. But if Forrest was older, then play some.
Well,
I wanted
he
the Ninja
will be
Turtle.
older.
I wanted those Ninja Turtle toys.
Will be older.
So
and when you go back to try to get them,
they won't be there.
We just discontinued that last week.
But the thing is, though, I wanted those toys so bad that I cut out. I drew drawings of them and cut them out like paper dolls, put them on popsicle sticks and played with them that way.
Made your paper.
My mom, because it had the word mutant in it. No.
Oh, no.
But they look just like turtles. If they said Ninja Turtles, we could have gotten them. But mutant, that's ugly.
Now, now I had those because if we're talking about He-Man, we're talking about Transformers, we're talking about early to mid 80s, right? And I was still pretty young. I was like 4 or 5 or 6. But when you get to Ninja Turtles, we're talking 87, 88, 90. Movie came out in 90. Sure. So I'm like, 9, 10, 11. And so I'm able to like verbalize and kind of whine and manipulate my mom a little bit more. So I mean, that's just what happened. So I 100% got all 4 of those. I got the Shredder. I got the Splinter. I had the April O'Neil. And I had the cool-ass van.
Yeah, the pizza wagon.
Yeah, the van.
Chuck pizzas.
We've talked about the pizza wagon.
Yes. Now, I have no idea what happened to those toys.
For the vehicles, right?
Yeah.
Top 5 cartoon vehicles, and I wanted the pizza
cool
wagon.
as can be. But wherever they ended up, I don't know, because they, I wish I still had them.
With the pencils that
they are not.
They're in the safe.
It's weird. The pencils were in a Ziploc bag, and they just kind of stayed in a separate area because they didn't get played with. The toys, I mean, out of the package, I mean, whatever, just got played with. So they probably got put in a box, and I actually probably given to my nephews because I had a nephew born in 85 and another one born in 91, another one born in 93. So they got a lot of my hand-me-down toys.
Makes sense,
So that, whatever, they probably went to them.
Okay. All
right.
That's pretty cool.
Numero uno.
Look, I'd have to say the Ninja Turtles would probably be another honorable mention for me because I didn't have many of those, and I don't know why. But I loved the Ninja Turtles.
I loved them.
Numero uno for me is the He-Man stuff. Like all of the expensive He-Man stuff, except for Castle Grayskull. And I have a pretty good story.
You could say Castle Grayskull to win right now.
You could.
No. Here's the thing. I'm not going to win. I don't care. But
I just won.
But he would have.
But I had Castle Grayskull in my story.
Okay.
About Castle Grayskull.
What were you?
That's what I have. So one thing I never got for sure was all the castle stuff that came afterward that had the slime built into it.
Mm-hmm,
like
I remember
the
that.
torture chamber and everything else. And
That was always cool.
Yes.
Like the Black Lagoon dude.
Yes.
And all the bad guys would come around. And it was so funny to me because I do remember this. All the kids in the commercials, when they had the slime torture chambers and everything, they would just yell at He-Man. They're like, "Oh, you're going to eat it now!" You know, whatever the put-downs were back then.
Yeah.
The kids were just screaming into the television. And I remember even as a kid, I'm like, what are these kids' problem? Like, I don't play with my toys like that. Why do they have Tourette's? What's happening? And just like, they're so angry. But anyway, it's fine. But I never got any of the slime stuff, and so that's kind of my number one. But and then
That's a good
there was
pick.
a lot of the He-Man stuff I wanted, but that's what I wanted to complete. I had a lot of the bad guys, like the dude whose eyes popped out,
Yeah.
and I had the evil horde is what they were. I had a lot of the Skeletor minions and everything. But what I did is, as I got older, and I will never forget this, I kind of transitioned into, I'm never going to play with this again. And I kind of had that realization as a kid. And so it was the 4th of July, and we had a bunch of leftover fireworks. So it was probably the 5th of July. And I was like, I'm going to burn down Castle Grayskull. And it's great. So I had these smoke bombs, and back in the 80s and 90s, these smoke bombs were like really powerful. So what happened is that He-Man and all his buddies were sitting inside Castle Grayskull having a powwow, and then Skeletor shows up with all the evil horde, and they threw these smoke bombs into the windows and into the drawbridge. And so I chucked them in one at a time and lit them all, and then finally the final assault came, because it was the end of the cartoon episode, I guess. And then the castle started to catch fire, and it started to melt right in front of me. And right at this moment, my mom chooses to walk outside, and she's like, "What's going on out here?" And I was like, "Oh, Skeletor's assaulting Castle Grayskull, and it's on fire, but it'll be fine. I'm not going to play with these anymore." And she just said, "Okay," and she slid the glass door closed and just let me play with it and burn it down. And so I just melted Castle Grayskull to the ground.
How you like them apples?
With fireworks.
You son of a bitch.
And after I was done, it was just this half melted shell.
No, I get it, because that's what you did back then.
You were the kid from Toy Story.
I really was.
We used to. I don't remember what toy line it was, but we used to take the heads off of toys and try to put them on other toys. Arms and stuff like that. I mean, we just whatever. So
the only He-Man toy I had, someone bought me for my birthday, and Mom let me keep it because someone gave it to me, was the spider.
Oh man, that's not cool. No.
Yeah. Your mom let you have that,
and
but not
he's battery
mutants?
operated, so he crawls too.
That's even
so
worse.
he was like a big villain for me and something. But I was like,
yeah.
wow, this is awesome.
I never had Castle Grayskull. Obviously, I had some of the figures. My favorite one. Do you remember these ones? The Skeletor and the He-Man that had like the chest plate.
The chest plate that could switch.
Yeah, switch.
Yes,
love that because you hit it in the chest and it's like a little bit scarred, and then another one that's big.
Yeah, you can show battle damage.
Yeah, the battle damage.
Oh, it was fantastic.
So good.
Yep. And trust me, He-Man, when he was sitting in his castle having his little tea party, he was at battle damage 0. And then as the first smoke bomb went in, I had to adjust, and then they couldn't get out in time, and then they all melted, and it was great. And Skeletor wins. So that's how He-Man ends, just so you know. Like, I enacted it in my backyard. So, and Castle Grayskull does not survive.
Skeletor. One of the best bad guys ever.
He really
Good one.
is. He's
I mean, maybe
terrifying.
my favorite bad guy ever. Maybe.
Fantastic.
What's number one?
Okay, so earlier I said that in every 80s movie, like the cool kids had dirt bikes, right?
Yeah.
So there's something that was even more prevalent in 80s movies that it seemed like every kid had. And I wanted one so bad. And truth be told, if I had one to this day, I would use it. I promise you.
Not a power glove. It's not.
No, I had one of those.
Any guesses? No?
I don't know. I'm trying to think, but I can't. I don't know.
It's like every kid had it. Super prolific.
No.
Every kid in Adventure.
No, he said
every
it was
kid,
80s.
every kid in the
movies.
it seemed like all the kids in the 80s movies had one.
The Garfield phone?
No.
I'm just trying to guess here.
I don't know.
A treehouse.
What? That's true.
I wanted a tree house. Every
never
kid
had
in
a
the
treehouse
80s, they turned it into their clubhouse,
Yeah.
their little getaway.
When was The Sandlot? When did that come out?
Yeah, 93.
93? Okay.
One of my favorite ones was the Monster Squad,
Oh, the Monster Squad!
just getting up in there and just talking about things and looking at nudie magazines
Exactly.
and talking about,
Wolfman's got nards.
Yeah. Right,
Wolfman.
Home Alone, whatever, yada yada.
Yeah.
So, what made me think about this? Did y'all watch 6 months ago? Did you watch the Christmas movie that came out with Neil Patrick Harris called 8-Bit Christmas?
I did because you told me, and that I don't know if we should ruin that for him if he hadn't seen
I
it.
haven't seen it yet.
Well, no.
I do
Did you
remember it.
like it?
I did.
I thought it was a phenomenal movie. It was very nostalgic.
It's shocking these days to do something nostalgic 80s because it comes across campy and remember
Right.
the Rubik's Cube.
But it wasn't that way. It
No.
had the heart of an 80s movie. It was the closest thing to a heartful 80s movies that I've seen in almost 3 decades.
know,
I
do
agree.
remember
Shockingly
it.
good.
I remember y'all talking about it. I
But
just wrote it down,
but there's
I
a
wanted to watch
treehouse.
it,
I'll just leave it at that. There's he had a treehouse, and his treehouse was still standing after all these years,
Fantastic.
and then his kid got to see the treehouse, and it was just like I wish I would have had a treehouse because I would have gone in it. I would have decorated it. There would have been a rope ladder.
true.
There would have been lights.
That's true.
Calvin and Hobbes. We all
Oh,
that's
yeah.
our
Yeah,
favorite.
I mean, everyone, yeah.
Yeah, he had the
Everyone wanted
treehouse,
that.
right?
Yeah.
So like it just meant so much to me. And
great
I'll
one.
say this: my dad actually did try to build one time because we had 4 trees that were like right next to each other, like 1, 2, 3, 4, almost like four bottles of beer in a 6-pack. Were they like that close and that like even together? You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And so he got up there and he put some 2x4s on the side and he tried to build a base, but then I guess he just lost interest or was like, this isn't,
Like, I'm never going to beat the Ewok village. So
Right,
I might
right.
as well not even try.
Yeah, this isn't going to
That's right.
happen. So like those 2x4s stayed up there for many, many years. He never did even pull them down. But if I had one to this day, I would decorate it. I would figure out a way to put electricity up there. I'd put a Nintendo up there. There'd be a rug. There'd be a trap door. There'd be a rope ladder. I would try to figure out a way to do a zip line, like in Home Alone, something like that. That's
It
just
felt like even the sad, lonely kids in the 80s movies had like a secret room, and usually it was a treehouse, and the mom would come up and like say, "What's wrong, baby?" And they would have this heartfelt scene.
There's lots of movies like that. There's lots of movies like that. I mean, Buttercream Gang and other ones I'm thinking about. Just about every
Kid.
it's
Did you have a
going-
treehouse when you were a kid, Matt? No.
I knew one kid that did though.
Really?
In a tree.
Wow.
Yeah.
yeah,
It
like
was really cool.
The thing was that like the ones that you saw in the movies, like I've never seen anything like that in real life.
No.
Like
No. Not for real. I haven't.
Right.
Either.
Now, it wasn't as cool as 80s, I guess, but this guy, the dad got electricity up in there, and so he had an Atari and TV, and we'd play Atari in the clubhouse.
That's pretty
The only
slick.
thing is, it got hot in the summer, and, it was nice, but it was fun because you got up on the ladder, had a little balcony, which stood 3 people on it, next to each other, and then the little door, you go in there, had some windows, and then it had had the little Atari and a little setup there, and you're either playing Atari or watching someone play Atari in that little
Yeah, but even with
clubhouse.
electricity, like if you've got a fan out there, that's not going to cut it in the summertime. Like,
No,
it's not
not
enough.
around
a
here.
lot of times in the summer, and then cold of winter, you never went in there.
Right. Still though.
Like
Still,
the tree
though.
houses
Still,
in
though,
New
treehouse is a
Jersey
treehouse.
were probably
Pretty
much cooler.
fantastic, regardless of the weather.
I agree.
I would agree.
I agree.
That is a great pick for sure.
That is a fantastic pick.
I definitely wanted that too. I wanted the Calvin and Hobbes treehouse or the Sandlot or the.
Yeah.
I was gonna say Goonies, but that wasn't it. I played in like bushes. We had gigantic bushes out in the backyard where I was, and it was just surrounded by woods. And we had a couple of like hollowed out areas that were just completely shrouded, and those were our clubhouses. And we would hide and have secret codes and everything to get into there. But I mean, really, if you really wanted to come in, you just walk through the bushes. But make pretend walls are some of the strongest ones you can ever have, and that was great.
Oh yeah, and you feel cool.
Oh well,
You
it
feel
felt
exclusive
super cool.
because of it,
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. It was like a whole lot, especially when my cousins came around, who were all girls, and my uncle had
No
nothing
girls
but
allowed.
So I was surrounded by girls, and oh my God, they were so mean
Get
so
rid of slimy girls.
Yeah, exactly. Get rid of gross. Yes, that's what it is.
Yeah,
Wasn't
gross.
that
Yeah.
yeah.
Great.
So yeah, stuff like that.
Well, there you have it, folks. There's our top 5 things we wish we would have had as a kid. but we didn't. Tell us in the comments, what were some things that you wanted as a kid, but you never got?
Things that you wish you had on Saturday.
Morning
Samoflange.
Honorable mention was Elizabeth's shoe.